Good morning, guys. It is Monday, September 4th. Happy Labor Day. Gamecocks are coming off a 35-28 win over NC State. 1-0. The future looks bright at this point. As most of you probably know, this is a game I picked NC State to win, although close. It looked about like I thought it was going to look. South Carolina's offense was good. The defense was shaky at times, but made some good plays. They won. They held off NC State in the end zone in 2 passes in the final 15 seconds. They're 1-0. Based on what we've seen from the rest of the SEC, I'm looking at you, Florida. You know, I think the Gamecocks could have hardly gotten off to a better start. Up next is a Missouri team that had more than 800 yards of offense against Missouri State last week. Then you've got Kentucky, then you've got Louisiana Tech. I mean, I think 4-0 is a possibility for this team. So, you know, that's the good news. The bad news is the Gamecocks gave up a ton of passing yards. They faced 99 plays, so Will Muschamp is putting a positive spin on that. In fact, Will Muschamp's putting a positive spin on everything. I was surprised to hear him come out after the game and say, we have a good football team. Not surprised that he necessarily thinks that, but surprised that he would say it publicly. He is generally at more of a, it's a week by week, we've got to keep getting better, this, and this. But I think he was really encouraged by that game. Now, how much of that, you know, we'll continue to see. I think he probably plays it a little more close to the vest as this week goes on and the future weeks go on. But he was really encouraged by that game. He was really encouraged, obviously, to get a win. So I think South Carolina's in a pretty good place as they get ready for their first true road game of the season. Road games is where this team had some trouble all of last year, but especially at the end of last year. So that'll be interesting to see. They played a neutral site game in Bank of America Field. It doesn't exactly count. It was mostly Gamecock fans. Mostly everybody was in their corner. So this will be the first time they go on the road and everybody's against you. This is probably a good test for that, given that Missouri is one of the smaller places in the SEC. So it's not like you're going to Neyland Stadium where 100,000 people are right on top of you. You're going to Missouri where probably 50 or 60,000 are right on top of you, but it's a pretty open stadium. It doesn't get super, super loud, at least by SEC standards, or that's been my experience at least. So, should be a fun week. I think if we beat Missouri, the SEC East is ours. Robert, I am not 100% sure about that. I would slow down on that talk. But obviously Missouri's the first step. If you don't beat Missouri, I think you're in trouble. And oddly, Missouri was a 3-point favorite, a 2-point favorite early last night. In the first lines that came out, I was surprised by that. So it'll be interesting to see how that line shakes out. I haven't checked it this morning, to be honest with you. It might have already changed. I expect that line to flip over to the Gamecocks by the end of the week. Not getting the offense going from the end of the third to the fourth quarter. Yeah, Tyler, I think that was, you know, the momentum got turned against them. The offense was really good at times and not super at times. And they don't rush for 30 yards. Jake Bentley, I thought, mentally had a great game. I think he got them against a good defensive front that brought a lot of different pressures. He got them into the right play and exposed NC State's pressure almost every time. But he did miss some throws, just physical stuff, just flat missed a few throws. So he'll need to clean that up if this offense is going to be as efficient as possible. But yeah, into the third quarter, it looked like Carolina was going to run away with it. Then the momentum switched, and the offense didn't do a good job at the end of the game of putting it away. Had a couple of opportunities there where they could have said, all right, we're just going to take the ball and run the clock out. Weren't able to do that. And that goes back in large part to a running game. That's the type of running game Will Muschamp would like to be able to have. He doesn't have it right now. We'll see if they can develop it. Any health updates on Sky Moore? Will said immediately after the game that he was just worn out. You know, he'd played a ton of plays, kind of landed awkwardly defending that pass, and so they took him out. Sherrod Green and Eldridge Thompson both played really well. He was really pleased with them. But no, Sky's fine in terms of the updates. The day after the game updates, nobody on the injury report that should affect them. So I think that they'll be fully healthy, and they need to be because they could face a bunch of plays again against Missouri. So that depth is going to have to keep coming along at linebacker, at defensive line, but Sky's fine. What do you make of some of the comments from NC State's media about how they dominated USC East? I didn't see any comments like that, although I haven't looked at any NC State media comments. I think that would be a foolish thing to say considering they lost, but I haven't given it a second thought. Disappointed in the running game, David says. Yeah, I can understand that. 30 yards, 1.5 yards a carry is really bad. NC State's got a good defensive line. That's the good news. And Muschamp was very positive about the offensive line blocking. Mentioned that they only had 3 negative plays in the run game. But I was surprised that he didn't come out and challenge those guys a little bit to run the ball better, because that has been his MO throughout last season and in the preseason. So, I mean, he is really kind of taking a different approach with this group in terms of just his tone. So I'll be interested to see if in his weekly press conference he's more adamant about the run game's got to improve, but the run game does have to improve. Yes, Sky's okay. Everybody's worried about Sky. Yeah, Sky's fine. Sky said you stepped on the NC State guy's cleat. Yeah. Oh, that's Dwayne. See, Dwayne's providing updates as we speak. How do you feel about your bad prediction? If I were worried about my bad predictions, I would feel bad all the time because they're so bad most of the time. I take solace in the fact that professional gamblers only get them right about 60% of the time or less. So I feel pretty good about that. But the game looked about like I thought it would look. And I am surprised. I mean, I guess I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but unless something changes, I'm going to pick South Carolina to win this game against Missouri. And I'll be really surprised if that line doesn't change. So we'll see. Did Ortre Smith play versus NC State? Yeah, he was in there. Didn't get any targets that I know of. No catches. But he was in there, and I think that they were pleased with what they saw from him. Didn't have any busts. You know, Will said they didn't have any big major busts from the guys, from the new guys. That's at a wide receiver. You might not necessarily know it if he did, but he's doing fine. Latest line on the Missouri game, Danny, as I said, it was 2 or 3 points last night when I looked. I haven't looked today. Is Bentley too dependent on Debo? No, Steve, I don't think so. I mean, the guy had a great game. If a guy's hot, you go to him. I'll be interested to see how it plays out the rest of the season. Hayden Hurst only had 1 catch, only had 2 or 3 targets. You know, I know that Hurst was told in the offseason, you know, you're going to get 5 or 6 touches a game. We're going to get you involved in the game plan. So it's human nature. You know, these types of things will crop up. If Debo Samuel catches, you know, gets 80% of the targets, is Hayden Hurst going to eventually have a problem with that? Maybe he is. Maybe that's an issue they have to deal with. But Jake Bentley knew coming into the season that on one hand he had to be aware of distributing the ball to all these playmakers. On the other hand, he had to make the right play and go to the open guy. Debo's one-handed touchdown catch on the scramble, that was supposed to be a deep route to Hayden. But Jake got pushed off his mark by that scramble. Couldn't get back to Hayden, saw Debo, and threw it, and it's a touchdown. So, you know, you can't argue with something like that. So, I would wait and see how the season progresses. I mean, if it looks like Jake's trying to force it to Debo when the offense is not working, then, yeah, maybe you've got a problem. But if the offense is working like it was and you're winning games, you know, I don't think you can make that argument. Do you think we'll see more running plays this week versus Missouri? Probably. Because Missouri's defense is really not very good. Certainly they don't have you know, you're used to Missouri having a really good defensive line. That's kind of their MO since they joined the SEC and those SEC East Championship teams. They were really good on the defensive line. That defensive line coach is now with Mark Richt at Miami, and the kind of dudes that they had on the defensive line they don't have right now. So, yes, I would think that South Carolina wants to establish the run game. They don't want to have to play 99 plays again. One way to handle that is to run a little clock with the run game. No, Kelly, no major injuries. In fact, Taven Jackson, who's a true freshman cornerback who would only really be used in a reserve role, is the only guy who's expected to miss the game, so they're very healthy.